Hey everybody, thank you for joining me, Krista with Imagine That Scrapbooks and Gifts for ITTV Presents week number 17. In today's class we are going to be doing all sorts of different techniques. The main one is going to be focused around raw chipboard, but we're also going to touch on some flower soft, our butterfly punches, as well as border punches, all previous ones we've done, so definitely watch out for the weeks that we did those in. But before we get started on this card, I need to pick a winner from last week's ITTV Presents, and the winner from last week is Miss Renee Britton Jordan. If you'll please email us at imaginethatscrapbooks@yahoo.com, we'll make sure you get your prize. And if you'd like to be entered in to win a prize, make sure you leave a comment on this week's ITTV Presents on Facebook or on YouTube. Alright, let's go get started. Alright, so let's get started on this card that we're doing with raw chipboard. Here's what it looks like completed. So we've got a lot of great techniques that we're going to be doing on this card, and some reviews on some techniques that we've done, to include our Flower Soft, which can be found on ITTV Presents number 1, our Butterfly Punch, which can be found on ITV Presents number 6, and our Border Punch here, which can be found on ITV Presents number 13. So if you have any questions on any of those, definitely feel free to refer back to previous online classes. So let's go ahead and get started. So the first thing we're going to do is going to punch our border. So we're going to slide it into our Martha Stewart punch and line it up. Alright, now to give us a little bit more texture and dimension on this, I take a pair of scissors. Now you can use your cutter bees or your tonics, but more often than not I just use a pair of kind of duller scissors. It allows it to rough up the edges a little bit better. And I have several pairs of these around the house from teaching school, as well as of course having a 4-year-old. These are just kid-friendly scissors. They're not sharp, so they really kind of jag up the edges. So what we're going to do is literally take the blade and scrape it across the edges of our paper. And I don't want a lot of distress, so I'm just going to do it kind of quickly. Alright, and there we have the distressed edges, and I did already do that to this piece here, so I just went around all 4 edges. Okay, so for our chipboard, I started out with raw chipboard pieces like this, and for time purposes I did already cover our base, which is the orange, and then our middle, which is the yellow. And you can see here I didn't go all the way in the center because we're going to be building our chipboard pieces, and so you really don't have to cover that center part. If you feel like you need to, definitely go for it. However, I didn't. And what I'm using is the Colorblock Q's. This is a pigment ink. Of course, you can use just about anything. So now I'm going to add some shading and some dimension to our chipboard pieces. So you can see here I'm just taking the chalk and going around the edges. Alright, so I deepened up the orange a little bit with some red. Now I'm going to deepen the yellow with a little bit of orange. I'm just going to go around the edges. There's a lot of fun things you can do with chipboard. You can paint them, you can ink it, you can stamp it. You can even buy chipboard that's already done. So there's all sorts of different things. Okay, now the top one, what we're going to do is the brown. Now I did cover this whole one because this is our top piece. And so we won't have anything covering that center. Okay, so while that's drying, we are going to start constructing our card. So we're going to push that off to the side. Alright, so we are going to layer our pieces as shown. So we're going to put down our yellow piece. Now before we put this all the way down, I'm going to wrap the tool like I did on this one here. You can see it's behind the whole card topper. So I have my piece of tulle here, and how I got that really neat little knot is I took my tulle and just cut it randomly in 2 different pieces. Then I'm going to take it and tie a knot. And tighten it where it has just 2 little tails. Oh, too much. Okay, then what I'm going to do is actually take this tulle and wrap it around like so. So I have my zots here. Okay. I'm going to place one right there. And then one on this side. All right. And there we have that there. So now we can actually lay this entire piece onto our card. So now I'm going to put down the rest of the adhesive. We have that layered onto our card. Now we're going to come back over to our chipboard pieces. And on this top one here, I added some Flour Soft for some dimension. So we're going to get our Flour Soft glue. And of course, if you have any questions on the application of Flour Soft, definitely refer back to ITTV Presents number 1. So we're going to add our Flour Soft adhesive right there. I'm using the nut brown. Just to make our little flower have that real texture to it. Okay, so we're going to set that off and let that dry. Now we're going to build our flowers. Now I have here the Studio Multi-Medium. You can use couple different glues to do this, but since I have this one handy, this is the one I'm using. I'm just going to put a dollop of glue right there in the center. Another great glue for doing chipboard pieces is the Beacons 3-in-1. Anytime you're working with a chipboard accent, you definitely want to make sure that you're using a wet glue. And the reason being is chipboard comes in layers, and your wet glue is going to actually adhere the different layers to each other, so they're not going to pull apart. If you use a dry glue, then basically all you're doing is gluing that bottom layer to the top layer, and they can eventually come apart. So we always like to use a wet glue with working with chipboard. Okay, so I have this popped up here. So let's grab some foam dots. I'm going to stick that right in there. Alright, and these are fun metal frames. And again, I'm going to use the multi-medium just to kind of go around the edges. This dries clear and it's a matte, so I'm not worrying if I get it off the frame a little. We're just going to tuck this just like that. Alright, now we're going to add some butterflies. So I have my butterfly punch. We're going to cut out two of them real quick. Oops. And then to give our butterflies a little bit of dimension, we're going to fold the wings in, bend them out just a little. And this week's promo code or coupon code is Chipboard10. Again, that is Chipboard10, and that's good on all raw chipboard in the store for a discount this week. Okay, we're going to go ahead and just use the multi-medium since I have it here. Okay. You can put these kind of wherever you want. I just like the way it looked like it was flying out of the frame. Oops. Okay, now we need to add our last piece. Now this still isn't dry, and how you can tell Flower Soft is dry is the glue comes out white, and once it's dry it's crystal clear. But for time purposes we're going to go ahead and glue it on. So we're just going to add a dollop of glue right there in the center. Adhere this here. Alright, now the last piece we have to do is adding our sticker sentiment. These are SRM's clear stickers, which are really neat because they look like they're a rub-on, but they're actually a sticker. But I don't want all of that edge, so I'm going to trim it off real quick. Okay, we're going to tuck this thanks just right under that butterfly. And there you go. A really pretty and quick card using Flower Soft, border punches, flower punches, and raw chipboard. Well, we'll see you next week.